Let's talk about finding your voice. Anybody want to share their journey? I feel like I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I just finished the Becoming book by Michelle Obama. And then it made me really think about um, whether I feel my voice is heard, whether I feel visible or invisible in different spaces. And I started reflecting on that. And my journey of really finding my voice and projecting it in spaces, whether heard or not. So I thought that would be a good topic for today. What do you guys think when you hear these words, finding your voice?
I think
Yeah,
for me it is what I'm meant to do, right? Why am I here? So for me, voice is not just like expression in terms of words, but more about what is my calling or what is it that I'm here for? How can I contribute?
Like purpose.
Yeah.
Rashmi, you were about to say something.
yeah, I was going to say something similar to what Alak was saying. It's like for me to be able to express who I am and not hold back and not be worried about like what others are thinking, or like say for example I was thinking like a few times before whether I should wear this shirt or not because it's so bright and bold, and then I said, you know what, this is me, so I'm just going to wear what I want. So for me, finding my voice or being my voice or speaking my voice is being who I am. Yeah.
Shivali?
Yeah, echoing what the two of them said. Although I also think that typically when we talk about finding our voice, it's also about how you project. I mean, often it's used in that way, right? Like, what are you about, and how do you project your voice, and that kind of thing. Which may be linked to like a certain point in your life, like, maybe more in your 20s. It's about just finding the confidence, in your voice to be able to speak. A lot of times as women, I used to have to train a lot of younger attorneys, and I would always notice that whenever we would speak, like especially when you're in your 20s, it would often be like there's a statement, but it's at the end of the statement it becomes like a question mark because your voice becomes higher at the end. Do you know what I mean? Have you seen this?
Yep.
Yeah. So it's also about the confidence that comes from just, I can say what I need to say and make it a statement, not a question. So that's something more in the 20s. But then as a bigger picture, I don't know that one ever really find their voice, because isn't it constantly changing? Isn't that isn't that the whole process of life? So what does it then really mean to find your voice? Who can say that they've actually found their voice?
For me, I think yes, you do find your voice because you're comfortable in your own skin. I think being comfortable in your own skin, that is your voice, and being able to then move with it. Because many times, I used to work as a battered women's advocate, and I met so many different people, and there would be these women who are vice presidents of companies, but they let themselves get battered. And I feel it's that inner part of them that doesn't come out, no matter in being able to say what you want to say and stand up for yourself. I think I'm going with that, being able to stand up for who you are, what you believe in, no matter what.
That's strong. That resonates with me. I feel like, have you ever been in a situation where you could have spoken up? Because I think a lot of this is interconnected. You only when you're a little bit in tune with your cause, your passions, your purpose, can you really have something to define what you want to say in a space. But there have been times, like a few times, and it's come for me twice. Maybe you guys can share also, where it's almost like I dimmed my own light. I dimmed my light because somewhere in my own mind, decided that people didn't want to hear didn't value what I had to share or say in a space. And then I would kind of dimmen, and it started affecting my confidence. So somewhere, yes, it was their actions that made me feel that way, and then there's also times where maybe I was doing it to myself. So because either other people around me were insecure, or they really did. It was more of like a all men, a little bit more misogynistic environment. So there was a little bit of that thing that I would feel personally. And then I started thinking, what do I do when I'm in a situation like that? Do I speak still, or do I really kind of fold and start dimming and fold inwards? And I've done both, actually. There's been times I've been able to speak up, and there's been times I just kind of I just shy away from it because it makes me feel so uncomfortable.
Wait, I have a thought. So for the rest of you, how do you just let your light shine through no matter what? Because you've had those moments, right?
I think for me, one thing I have learned is that I get in my way so much. Like, before even somebody else thinks something about me, I have already thought so much about me, right? Like how somebody else is going to think about me. So lately, one thing I have kind of told myself the past 1 month is, no matter what opportunity comes my way, don't say no. And I feel that is one thing that has kind of helped me shut the mind up. In that moment, I'm not coming up with excuses, I'm not entertaining it. I just jump into it without thinking. And so far, it has just been so fantastic because I have learned so many things about myself, and more than anything else, I have broken a lot of barriers that I used to hold inside of me. So that's one trick I have tried lately, and so far it's helping. I think it's also going to reach that limit, but so far at least that's something that I'm working with.
Wow.
I can totally relate.
I think just today I had a experience where somewhere I was blaming someone else for like, oh, well, this person thinks blah, blah, blah about me. And so I was like blaming or projecting that as a story. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, this is just a story I've created and I put on that person. Actually, I'm the one who thinks that I might need A, B, C, X, Y, Z. And then I've turned it around and projected it onto that relationship. And the second I had that awareness, then the struggle I was having in my mind, in my head with that person, somehow that all vanished because somehow I had that pure awareness that, oh, this is just me. Like it's my story that popped up here, and it became so quiet. But then it's in that awareness that you're able to like just cut through and move and be your confident self, because you're whatever limiting story you're telling yourself, for a moment it's become quiet. You're not struggling in your head.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
Yeah. No, for me, I was just gonna say that as you think, so you become. So many times, like when we have all these thoughts in our minds, and there's a vibe we're putting out there in those moments, whether we're saying it out loud or not, and then we're almost like projecting it out to become our movie, like Sheikh Ali was saying. So, and then half the time I try to too much get it, like how how Alec was saying, like get in my own way, like I'm trying to project myself too much in the movie, in the sense where I'm getting caught up in it versus just flowing with it, like having an awareness of like, okay, what's happening and how can I just observe this, and then also find what my conviction would be in that, so that when I speak, the words have that kind of vibration or that weight in the space too, because it's beyond words. It is really like so much of, I think that's what gives a conviction when you say something.
I was just going to ask that question, and you answered it without me asking that question. But how do you make that flip? And you said what you think is what becomes in life. I wanted to go back to something you said earlier because that kind of stuck with me. You said something about like we dim our light.
I exactly, yes.
And you know what, this is some a thought that I have been dwelling on a lot, is that I dim my light so that others can shine, but when I shine, actually I illuminate them even more. So I feel that by me shining and me being able to voice my opinions, it allows and empowers others. So I think it's kind of contradictory where we say, oh, if I don't shine, then others will shine. But actually, when we shine, we make everyone else shine along with us.
And I think
But
that also ties in with how we are feeling, right? I feel like the days when I'm feeling good, like at a subtle level, if my prana is high, right? Like then I'm able to speak up. But on days when all of that is kind of not there, then you become this person that just shuts up, And so somewhere just kind of having that source of energy in me constantly, I think I can keep shining that light. But somewhere, somehow it kind of gets hidden whenever I feel like low on prana or just not good overall.
So, did you have anything you wanted to add, Shefali?
something, yeah, it'll come back to me. It's fine.
Okay. So then, so then what can we do? What I've noticed, I think women have a power in this, that we can. I love what you said, Rashmi, because I do feel that way. And that's why I said the dim the light thing. So, we can, when we shine bright, we can actually shine it brighter and illuminate those around us. And sometimes I feel like women hold this power, that we can create a platform and raise each other with us, or we can also, somewhere in our dimming, then we're also empowering this idea that one has to shine bright and the other one won't shine as bright. So I think that a lot of that change for the future even is in us. If we can empower each other and our network of people, or we can also disempower. And somehow when we're not owning our own power, then we're disempowering even those around us. And I never thought about that until you just said that.
That's beautiful.
I'm not even sure that I totally agree that you do end up illuminating others around you, but I'm not even sure that that's my motivating action. At the end of the day, I think I spend 90% of my time only thinking about me and forget everybody else. But one thing I have noticed, and I don't know if you have the similar thing, that as I am getting older, my tolerance of that diminishment or of not speaking my truth is becoming less and less and less. Where before it might have felt easier just to diminish and put a lid on it because you didn't have the confidence, but now it's actually the other way, and it grows where if you try to put a lid on it, it's almost like this violent sort of energy inside that you're bottling up, and it comes out like some verbal diarrhea if you bottle it. And so it's just actually easier just to speak in the moment than to diminish. Are you seeing that change is happening as you get older?
I don't agree with that, because I think the reason why it may be happening to all of us is because we have one thing in common, that we meditate and we self-reflect. But if you look at a lot of older women also, they just go through their entire lives without being able to speak what's on their mind. So I don't know, I can't say yes or no to what you said. I think it's more because we've been meditating and we take a lot of time to self-reflect, and we're like, okay, I'm not putting up with this anymore. So I was going to ask this question. So
for you, not for everyone has to look at their own, but for you, has your tolerance gone down of putting up with diminishment? Or
the reason my tolerance has gone, well, I wouldn't say my tolerance has gone down. I've become more skillful in the way I speak it now, because I'm going to look at, if I can say it in a better way rather than just blurting it out and speaking my voice, I'm going to think of a better way. 8 times out of 10 I will think of a better way, and then 2 times out of 10 it's just gonna come out. So it's a work in progress, but I think it's more, yeah, with maturity.
I'm 8 times out of 10 more likely to blurt it out right now. That's what I'm saying. It's like verbal diarrhea. I can't control it. But that's a step for me. You know, like I think you have to go through that stage of just all of a sudden your mouth opens and oops, too late. I can't dial that one back. That's a huge step from like when you're stifling it all.
But
Yeah.
wait, come back. So let's go back a little bit. So how did you get there? Because I think the critical part is like, where is the tipping point where you say, okay, I'm not going to say anything, and then you say, no, you know what? I need to say it. So how did that shift happen?
I think for
Oh yeah, please.
for me, I felt like having just more faith in myself and helped me take that like to jump into it. So I would tell myself, what's the worst that can happen if I spoke up, right? Like I think there was some fear about judgment, the fear about me not being right when I shared something. And suddenly, because, and I think I strongly only attribute it to meditation, is I built that faith that, you know, what is it that will happen? What's the harm? And the more and more I spoke up, I actually saw that it contributed most times than really, you know, the other result that I was doing. So it was kind of more taking that step once, and then as the experience becomes stronger, I think the confidence builds up, and then it becomes second nature where you're like, okay, yeah, now I just openly share everything. So I think that's kind of what worked for me.
For me, I feel like. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shayvali. You had something you were gonna say.
No, finish and then
I was just thinking that there is like it's definitely there is something, an element with time with it, you know, and definitely as I've gotten older, I just care less of what other people think about me. I think it used to bother me more, and I used to have this thing which I now call disease, is feeling bad. I would feel bad that, oh no, I hope that person didn't get upset. So not even their judgment on me, I would just feel bad. And then I realized it was becoming like a weed inside that I needed to attend to. And this idea of feeling bad was also muting me in some way, or not allowing my true self to shine forward a little bit too, because it's like, oh, what will they feel bad, or maybe they needed that thing, they might need more of a platform or a stage than I do, it's okay. And then I would just kind of create a scenario or an idea in my mind, which actually pulled me more farther away from the, you know, whatever you want to call my voice or myself.
And for me, I don't think there was any step that happened by my design. Because I think I probably would have stayed in my comfort zone of not speaking, because that's what I do, and you know, you don't say, and you're polite and blah blah blah, and you make all these excuses about why, you know, you shouldn't be talking in public or whatever. So I fully bought all those things, but then like when one or two situations happen where again and again, like you just keep getting beat down, and then one day it's like the last straw, and you just, for me, it happened, I remember them clearly, one or two situations where it was just like the last straw, and I don't think I could handle it at that point, and then just the eruption happened in like this complete, you know, anger sort of moment. But then when it happened, it's like, okay, now the worst has happened, and I actually feel good about it. So somehow being angry was like not okay in my head, but once I erupted, it's like, this is wonderful. I love it. I like being angry and giving voice to it. And then like, yeah, that happened a couple times, and then I was like, okay, this isn't so bad. Like, the world doesn't fall apart if you somehow give voice to your inner thought. And so that's what I'm saying. It's, for me, it's still a progress where now I'm at a point where I'm more apt to just blurt out what's in my head without filtering, and not I don't necessarily have a skillful communication the way Rashmi is saying for herself. But maybe one day I'll get there. At least now I'm saying.
I'm not saying that I am skillful and I reached there, but I think I was also like that. Like whatever's in my head, whatever's in my heart was on my mouth. But then over time, I realized that it's not serving me. And having that awareness, which I think came from self reflection and meditation, that, you know, when I'm not serving myself, I'm the one who's really getting bent out of shape. But you know what actually really made the tipped it for me was having really good friends who really gave me good advice when I needed it and pulled me aside. You know, it's the ones who really love you who will speak it as is, and then it would make me think, okay, maybe I can say it in a better way. I have a couple of friends, who always pointed it out when no one else would, and I think that's how I developed the skill. But I had another thought. We're wrapping up. I wanted to ask you. So now looking back, what would you tell your 20-year-old self on how to be able to speak your voice or let your voice be heard?
Can I add to that?
Yes.
Invite. Okay. So can we sum it up like in three things, like 3 points, if it comes up for you guys, like as a takeaway, even to our previous selves, that 3 tips or things of how to find that. Maybe we can come up with it together, even.
So I think it's always there and we are aware that it's there. So what I would tell my younger self is that don't be afraid. Just be yourself. People will love you the way you are. That's what people love. They don't want to love this perfect human being that I have envisioned somewhere in my head, right? So that's one definite advice. And the second is have faith. You're here. You've been put on this planet for a reason, and you've been given everything along with it to go there. So just go there, and the universe will be there to support you. I think this world is filled with kind people, amazing people, and trust them. I think that's what I would tell myself. It's not very succinct advice, but yeah, I think have faith, don't be afraid, and be your authentic self.
I'm going to say life is too short to live on other people's terms. You live it the way you want to live it.
Oh, nice.
That's it.
For me, I would say embrace your imperfection. Like in your chase to be perfect, you trip over your own imperfections, but embrace those, because actually that's what makes you find that authentic self and you be you. So in that, embrace the imperfections, you be you, which is kind of similar to what Alika is saying with the authentic self, and keep moving.
And maybe I would just add to that, in the moment where you think you don't know, you actually do know. Just think into your gut and whatever it's telling you, go ahead and just say it. That's going to serve you better, more than trying to become a peach because someone wants to be a sweet peach, or becoming the grape because someone else says grapes are great.
I love that one. Yes.
Okay. So should we go ahead and close for today?
Yeah.
Or did you have any other final thoughts? Okay, so if you're watching this and it resonates with you and you want to join, be a part of the sisterhood, then subscribe, like, comment, and then we'll keep seeing you here. And if you have ideas on topics you want to hear, please write them, and then we can address them together, all of us.